Hi everybody, welcome back to Mando Lessons. My name's Baron Collins Hill. In this week's lesson, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to get us into a cross tuning, and we're going to play a tune that I've actually already taught on the website. The tune is Coleman's March, but we're just going to play around with it a little bit in this other cross tuning that you may not have experienced before. It's a lot of fun. I think you'll latch onto it pretty quick, and we'll have a lot of fun with it. So as I said, the tune we're going to be using is Coleman's March. It's a classic old-time tune in the key of D. I've taught it on my website, so if you don't know the tune already, go find that lesson and learn the tune. I also have lots of other lessons on my website, hundreds and hundreds, and they're also on YouTube. They're always free. I put out new lessons every single week. It's a good reason to subscribe if you haven't already. There are a couple ways to donate. I've got a PayPal link in the description. I've got a Patreon link where you can get access to lessons a day early, patron-only live streams, things like that. And I also have t-shirts, mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff in my merch store. Once again, all the links are in the description. Not required by any means, but greatly appreciated. So what we're going to have to do first is we're going to have to get into our cross tuning. Right now, we're in GDAD, classic mandolin standard tuning. And the only thing we need to do is take our E string down to D, a whole step. You gotta do it to both of them. And when you cross tune, it often is gonna, even though you're just changing one set of strings, it often is going to affect your other strings a little bit. So you should make sure that your G, D, and A strings are also in tune even after you bring that E strings down to D. Yeah, my A definitely went a little sharp. So take your time doing this. Feel free to pause the video. And the tuning you'll end up with is G, D, A, E. Sorry, G, D, A, D on the high string. Now my G's are out. This is just the way the mandolin works. A little bit more here. You get this kind of ringing sound, so feel free to pause the video at this point, get into GDAD, and then we'll work on a little bit of Coleman's March. Alright, so now that we're in this tuning, it sounds like this. G, D, A, D. And this is really great for tunes in D, like Coleman's March, because you can really make use of this high D string as sort of a high drone that can be happening most of the way through the tune. It's a really beautiful sound. I'll switch over to the close-up camera. I'll play through it once so you can sort of hear what I like to do with the tune and the tuning. And then I'll break down some of what I'm doing for you. So there you go, GDAD tuning with Coleman's March. As you can tell, it's very ringy. I find the sound to be very beautiful. And the nice thing about this tune in particular is it doesn't go any higher than the 5th fret on your A string, which is a D. So you can use that open D a lot. You don't need to retrain your brain to move higher up the fingerboard, which you can certainly do. It's not that hard if you find tunes that you want to play in this tuning that do go onto the E string. You'll have to adjust your sort of fingering on that now D string, formerly E string. But with Coleman's March, it's not a worry. So let's just play the tune together, and I'll sort of show you a couple things that you can do. Your fingering is going to be totally the same, except for a few spots where you can use the same fingering, but also have some different options. So let's go right from the beginning, nice and slow, about that same speed, and let's play together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there is our first spot where you can use that open D string. Normally it would be 4, 5, 0, 5, 4 on the A string, which still totally works, but now you can use this nice ringing open D. So it's 4, 5, 0, open D, 4, 4 on the A string, and you get this sort of drony, little bit of dissonance right there with the open and 4. Let's play that A part again. Open. Going on to the B part. Right there. You can hit that open D. Again. Same phrase as the A part. Play the B part again. Open D. Again, that phrase, just to break that out. 2, 2, 4, open, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, oh. And then that same phrase from the A part. So that right there is all you really need to do in terms of adjusting your right hand and your left hand to make use a little bit more of that open D string. You can do a lot of that by ear. Just play around with the tune for a while and try to make as much use of that open D string as possible, and it'll really add a nice smoothness to the sound of this tune. And then the real magic, to my ears, comes when you start adding in some double stops, what I often call like getting your right hand moving. Get a little cross-picking pattern in to your playing. I've got some lessons on my website on cross-picking, but the general pattern you can use is down on the D, up on the A, down on the E string, which is now a D string, up on the A, down on the low D, up on the A, down on the high D, up on the A. Sounds like this. And what you're going to try to do is just keep this idea in your right hand as much as possible while playing the tune. And anytime you have a little bit of space in the melody, see if you can hit a couple of these strings. So it might sound like this. You know, you don't need to hold to that pattern really strictly. Just anytime you get a nice long quarter or half note in the tune, anytime you got a little bit of space to think, just kind of see if you can hit another couple of those strings. The more you do it, the more your right hand will get into its own little groove, and it'll sound more fluid and more natural the more time you spend with it. And then the only other thing I really like to add are a couple double stops. So in the B part, one thing you can do is slide from that 4th fret to the 5th fret, and then also hit the open D, and you get a unison D. And then when you hit that 4th fret in the melody, you can hit the 2nd fret on the D, low D string. You get this kind of a little bit shimmery sounding chord. And then G, you can play a nice big open G chord, open, open 2, and then open on the E string, or high D string. So putting all of those together, you get and you can end with that open DAD. And just one more double stop option you can throw in occasionally. Rather than that G chord, you can kind of make it a little bit of a B minor by doing 4-2 open. So replacing that G chord with that, it might sound like this. Here it comes. Let's play the whole tune. B part. Alright, so there you go. That's one of my favorite tunings of all time is GDAD. Hope you had fun with Coleman's March. So I use that tuning a lot with octave mandolins as well. If you're an octave mandolin or bouzouki player, GDAD is lovely for accompaniment and for playing tunes like Coleman's March. It works very well with if you've got a capo around. You can put a capo if you want to play in maybe F. You put a capo on the 3rd fret. My capo's not tight enough at the moment, but you can really just capo anywhere, just like you'd normally use a capo. It's beautiful tuning for cross picking. Try it on a mandolin, mandola, octave mandolin, bouzouki, you name it. A lot of fun. And now that you've got Coleman's March under your fingers, see if you can add some other D tunes in to the mix. And you can even try some G tunes. That high D still works beautifully as a drone for tunes in the key of G. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week with a brand new lesson, and have a good day. Bye-bye.